A woman wakes up one morning and decides she's done waiting. She's going to finally start that business. The energy is real. The clarity is sharp. She opens her laptop, stares at the blank document, and then closes it. Not because she changed her mind, not because she got distracted. She just felt something drain out of her, like someone unplugged her from the inside. 3 days later, she tries again. Same fire, same clarity, same invisible shutdown. By the fourth attempt, she stops wondering what's wrong with her motivation and starts wondering what's wrong with her. But here's the part that should terrify you. Nothing was wrong. Her body was doing exactly what it was designed to do, protecting her. From what? From nothing immediate, from a threat that no longer exists. Her nervous system learned, somewhere along the way, that staying small keeps you safe. That feeling less is better than feeling exposed. That the known discomfort beats the unknown possibility every single time. And now it's running a program she never agreed to install. This isn't her story. It's everyone's, including yours. The question isn't why you can't move forward. It's what's been moving you backward while you weren't looking. You've probably spent years trying to fix this, reading about discipline, learning about habits, forcing yourself to push through resistance like it's a wall you can just run at hard enough. And sometimes it works. For a day, maybe a week, then that same strange gravity pulls you back. You start thinking it's a character flaw, that you're not built for consistency, that other people have some gear you're missing. But what if I told you the problem was never about strength? What if the part of you that keeps hitting the brakes isn't weak? It's just working from old instructions. Instructions written before you had language, before you could name what scared you, before you even knew what safety meant. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to show you changes everything. This isn't about motivation. It's not about willpower. It's about a system inside you that's been making executive decisions in the background, shaping your choices, draining your energy, and steering you away from growth without ever announcing itself. Not consciously, not logically, biologically. By the end of this, you'll see exactly how it works. More importantly, you'll understand why it's been winning and what you can actually do about it. Your brain doesn't prioritize your dreams. It prioritizes keeping you alive. And somewhere in your past, it learned a very specific lesson. Change equals danger. Maybe you were 7 years old, excited about something new, and someone laughed at you. Maybe you tried to speak up once and got shut down hard. Maybe you succeeded at something and the attention felt like being under a spotlight with no script. The moment itself might not even register as traumatic. You probably don't think about it at all, but your nervous system does. It recorded that experience not as a story, but as data. A simple equation. Exposure leads to pain. Trying leads to rejection. Growth leads to vulnerability. And vulnerability, in the brain's ancient language, means danger. So it builds a reflex, not a conscious one, a biological one. The next time you approach something that resembles that old pattern, even slightly, even symbolically, your system doesn't wait for your rational mind to weigh the risks. It just acts. It floods you with subtle resistance. A tightness in your chest, a fog in your thinking, a sudden and inexplicable urge to do literally anything else. You think you're choosing to wait. You think you're being smart, cautious, strategic, but you're not choosing at all. You're being rerouted by a part of you that genuinely believes staying still is the only way to stay safe. And the worst part? It's right. It kept you safe once, but now it's keeping you stuck. Here's how it actually plays out. You wake up with a plan. Maybe it's sending that email, making that call, starting that project. The intention is clear, the logic is solid. But then you check your phone, just for a second. 30 minutes disappear. You make coffee, you reorganize your desk. You suddenly remember something else that feels urgent but isn't, and the thing you were supposed to do. It's still sitting there, untouched. You didn't forget about it. You didn't consciously avoid it. You just drifted. That drift isn't random. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, redirecting your energy away from perceived threat. The email feels like exposure, the call feels like risk. The project feels like stepping into a space where you might be seen, judged, or required to meet an expectation you're not sure you can carry. So your body intervenes, not with panic, not with a clear no, just with a quiet drain, a subtle fog, a redirection so smooth you don't even catch it happening. You feel it though, in your chest, in the heaviness behind your eyes, in the way your motivation evaporates the moment you get close to action. And because it doesn't announce itself, because it doesn't feel like fear, you blame yourself. You call it procrastination, lack of discipline, weak character. But it's none of those. It's your system protecting you from something it believes is dangerous, even when your mind knows it's not. You don't need a single catastrophic event for this to take root. In fact, most of the time, it's not the big traumas that shape your nervous system's priorities. It's the small, repeated experiences that never made it into your conscious memory, but absolutely made it into your wiring. Maybe every time you got excited as a kid, the adults around you seemed annoyed. Maybe every time you tried something new, someone made a comment that felt like correction. Maybe you learned that being quiet got you approval and being loud got you isolation. None of these moments broke you. You survived them easily. But your nervous system doesn't measure impact by how you felt in the moment. It measures impact by repetition, by pattern, by whether something happened once or whether it kept happening until it became the baseline. And when a pattern repeats enough times, your brain stops treating it as isolated data. It starts treating it as a rule, a law of how the world works. So, if trying new things consistently led to subtle discomfort, your system writes a rule: new equals uncomfortable. If expressing yourself led to disconnection, it writes another rule: expression equals risk. If standing out brought unwanted attention, your nervous system codes that into its threat detection software. And here's the brutal part. It prioritizes your survival over your growth every single time. It doesn't care that you're not in danger anymore. It doesn't update its maps just because your circumstances changed. It's still operating off those early lessons, treating predictability like oxygen and expansion like a gamble it can't afford to take. Which means the very thing you need to grow is the exact thing your system has learned to avoid. If this were obvious fear, you'd recognize it. Your heart would race, your palms would sweat, you'd feel the adrenaline and know exactly what was happening. But that's not how this works, because your nervous system isn't trying to scare you away from danger. It's trying to make danger invisible, to make the path of least resistance feel like the only logical option. So instead of fear, you get exhaustion, a bone-deep tiredness that has nothing to do with how much sleep you got. You sit down to work on something meaningful, and suddenly you're drowning in fatigue, like someone drained your battery from the inside. Or maybe it shows up as confusion. You know what you're supposed to do, but when you try to think about it, your mind goes blank, foggy, like trying to see through frosted glass. The clarity you had 5 minutes ago just evaporates, and now even the simplest decision feels impossible. Sometimes it's procrastination that doesn't even feel like procrastination. You're busy, you're doing things, just never the thing that actually matters. You convince yourself you're being productive, but deep down, you know you're circling, stalling, burning time on anything that keeps you away from the edge of real action. And then there's the strangest one, indifference, that flat, numb feeling where nothing seems worth the effort. Not because you're depressed, not because you don't care, but because your system has turned the volume down on everything to keep you from feeling pulled towards something it perceives as risky. It's not protecting you from the thing itself, it's trying to make you want it less, from caring enough to try. Because if you don't want it, you can't be hurt by it. And this is why it never feels dramatic. It feels ordinary. Your nervous system would rather you feel nothing than feel exposed. Now add modern life to the equation. Your nervous system was built for a world where threats were immediate and finite. A predator, a conflict, a storm, something you could see, respond to, and then rest after. But that's not the world you're living in anymore. You wake up to notifications, messages that demand responses, news that triggers your stress response before you've even gotten out of bed, emails that feel like landmines, social media that constantly reminds you of where you're not, what you're not doing, who you're not becoming, and it never stops. There's no moment where the input ends and the recovery begins. Your brain is trying to process threat after threat, except none of them are actually threatening your survival. They're just threatening your nervous system's capacity to keep up. So what does it do? It adapts, but not in a way that helps you thrive. It adapts by shutting down your ability to feel deeply. And this is why so many people feel broken in a world that never lets them recover, by numbing your emotional range so you're not overwhelmed by the constant flood. It's like turning down the volume on a fire alarm that won't stop ringing. You can't turn it off, so you just make it quieter, 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 until you can barely hear anything at all. And in that state, growth feels dangerous, because growth requires you to feel, to be present, to be open, to care about something enough to be vulnerable to its outcome. But your system has learned that caring is expensive, that feeling is risky, that staying emotionally flat is the only way to survive the onslaught, so it keeps you there, in a permanent low-grade defensiveness that looks like apathy, but is actually just exhaustion dressed up as safety. And here's where it gets cruel. Because once you realize something's wrong, your instinct is to fight it, to muscle through, to prove to yourself that you're not broken, that you can override this resistance if you just try hard enough. So you set the alarm earlier, you make the plan stricter, you give yourself the speech about discipline and commitment and not being weak. And for a moment, it works. You force yourself into action. You push past the heaviness, you ignore the signals your body is sending, and you just go. But then, something interesting happens. The system that was already protecting you from perceived danger now has a new threat to deal with. You. You're trying to override it. You're ignoring its warnings. You're pushing into territory it specifically flagged as unsafe. And it doesn't take that lightly. So it pushes back harder, the exhaustion gets heavier, the fog gets thicker, the procrastination becomes almost compulsive. You might even get physically sick, headaches, stomach issues, unexplained pain that doesn't show up clearly on tests at first. For some people, this shows up as stress-related symptoms, always something to rule out medically, but often driven by prolonged nervous system overload. Because your nervous system isn't just resisting the external goal anymore, it's resisting your attempt to bypass its authority, and the more you fight, the more entrenched it becomes. You think you're building discipline, but you're actually training your system to see effort itself as a threat. You think you're pushing through resistance, but you're teaching your body that action equals danger. The harder you force, the stronger the opposition grows, until eventually you're not just stuck where you started, you're stuck deeper, more exhausted, more convinced that you're the problem, when the real problem was never your effort. It was the war you didn't know you were fighting. Eventually, you stop questioning it, you stop fighting, you just accept that this is who you are. You tell people you're not a morning person, that you work better under pressure, that you're just more introverted, more cautious, more realistic than other people. You build an entire identity around the limitations your nervous system created, and it feels true, because you've been living inside these patterns for so long that they don't feel like patterns anymore. They feel like personality, like the core of who you are. But here's what actually happened. You mistook a survival response for a character trait. You looked at the way your system learned to keep you safe and called it your nature. The quiet isn't who you are. It's what your nervous system decided was safest after you got burned for being loud. The hesitation isn't your personality. It's a reflex your body built after trying something new led to shame or failure. The "I'm just not that kind of person" story you tell yourself. That's not self-awareness. That's you narrating the walls your system put up and pretending they were always part of the architecture. And the dangerous part is how seamlessly it integrates. You don't see it as a defense mechanism. You see it as preference, as temperament, as truth. You make life choices based on it. You avoid opportunities that feel not like you. You stay in relationships, jobs, and patterns that fit the version of yourself your nervous system designed. And every time you do, you reinforce it. You prove to your body that staying small was the right call, that the walls were necessary, that this narrow version of you is the safest one to be. Until one day you look around and realize you're living someone else's life. Except it's not someone else's. It's the life your past built for you while you were too busy surviving to notice. So what do you do with all of this? Because knowing the mechanism doesn't automatically dismantle it. And here's the shift that changes everything. You stop treating your nervous system like an enemy. It's not sabotaging you. It's not broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do with the information it has. The problem isn't the system. It's the map. Your body is still navigating with directions from 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you can't update a map by declaring war on it. You update it by giving it new data, real data, not affirmations, not forcing yourself into situations that trigger every alarm you've got. That just confirms the threat. What actually works is something much quieter, much slower. It's showing your system in small and undeniable ways that the things it flagged as dangerous aren't dangerous anymore. You don't do this by pushing. You do it by staying present in moments that used to make you leave. Maybe it's sitting with the discomfort of wanting something instead of immediately distracting yourself. Maybe it's speaking up once in a low-stakes conversation and noticing that nothing collapsed. Maybe it's starting the thing you've been avoiding, not for 2 hours, but for 5 minutes, just enough to send a signal. I'm still here, I'm safe, nothing bad happened. And you do it again and again, not because you're building discipline, but because you're teaching your nervous system a new language, one where growth doesn't mean danger, where visibility doesn't mean destruction, where feeling something deeply doesn't mean you'll be abandoned by it. This isn't about willpower, it's about proof. Small, repeated proof that the old rules don't apply anymore, that you can expand without breaking, that it's safe to want things again, to feel things again, to try again. Your system will resist at first. That's normal. But resistance softens when it stops being proven right. Your mind was never working against you. It was working for a version of you that needed protection in a world that no longer exists. That woman who kept closing her laptop wasn't lazy. That heaviness you feel when opportunity shows up isn't weakness. That drift away from what matters isn't poor discipline. It's an outdated defense system running on old code, treating growth like danger because once, a long time ago, it was. Your brain learned to associate change with threat. It built reflexes that act before you think. And because those reflexes don't announce themselves as fear, they show up as exhaustion, confusion, procrastination, numbness. You've been living in a permanent low-grade defensiveness, amplified by a world that never stops demanding your attention. And when you tried to fight it, to force your way through, your system just fought back harder. You started believing the walls were your personality, that the limitations were who you are, but they're not. They never were. They're just maps drawn by a past that was trying to keep you safe. And now you know why the resistance feels so silent, why effort sometimes makes things worse, why you've been confusing survival with identity. The way forward isn't violence. It's not forcing yourself into situations that trigger every alarm. It's smaller than that, quieter. It's staying present in moments that used to make you leave. It's giving your system new proof again and again that the old rules don't apply anymore, that you can expand without breaking, that it's safe to want things, to feel things, to try again. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about letting your nervous system catch up to who you already are. If this hit you somewhere deep, don't let it stop here. Hit like so someone else fighting this silent war finds their way to it. Drop a comment and tell me what your silent resistance looks like. Fatigue, fog, drifting, or something else. Because I read every single one and your insight matters. And if someone you care about has been stuck blaming themselves, send this to them. Not as advice, as permission. Permission to stop treating themselves like the problem. This is Mindern. We don't fix people here. We just help you see what was never broken to begin with.